all yours.
Our next speaker for the day is Dane, and his title is Celiac Disease is for Life.
All right, so imagine that you go into a coffee shop or a store or a restaurant, anywhere pretty much, and you notice that there's like an increasing trend in offering gluten-free foods. Now, you may be wondering why there's so much hype about gluten. What's the big deal? So, me, not particularly, I do not have a gluten allergy, but my older brother, who is studying culinary arts in college, is around food and serves a lot of people at Boise State University. So he's constantly getting orders of food that need to be gluten-free. So, and I've been in the restaurant industry and I've been around this and I know that it's there. There's a lot of Americans that have gluten allergies. They can't eat it. So this is kind of becoming a big deal because more and more people every year are developing a celiac disease or a gluten allergy. Now, I have taken Biology 100. I know this is not very prestigious, but I have a pretty good understanding of how the digestive system works. So I think that I'm eligible or adequate, been around it enough to know and to discuss how a celiac disease works or a gluten allergy. Now, one problem with my generation specifically, we don't really care about something unless it affects us negatively and directly, which I know we have a flaw. That's pretty unbelievable, but it's true. So somebody walking into a coffee shop seeing that people have this allergy, but it's not me, why should I care? Well, if you don't fit that category, maybe you might be interested in this, what I have to say. So, now that I've told you about myself and how I know about this and the research that I've done, let's talk about gluten. What is it? Gluten is actually a protein composite found in wheat, barley, and rye seed grains. If you look at this, I drew this nice little handy arrow pointing to the endosperm of the seed diagram. That is where the protein composite is located. Wheat, barley, and rye seed grains all have one specific characteristic that is similar to each other, and it is elasticity. They all three belong to the prolamin family, and they are known for this elastic property. Now, this elasticity is important for making the dough, the bread and dough form, have the ability to rise and to stretch. And also, it gives that chewy texture once you've baked it and once you chew on it. So, this is in a naturally occurring seed grain. This is where the gluten comes from. However, since it has that elastic component, it's used in production to make all sorts of things. It's purposefully put into items like food flavor enhancers or sauces or even vitamins for them to retain their shape and to give that texture that every American loves or seems to love. All right, so now that we understand what gluten is, where it's from, and all the different varieties of foods that it can be located in, I'm going to have to change gears and talk about the workings of the digestive system. Now, I know this may be confusing, but try to stick with me on this. When you put food in your mouth, you chew it, right? I know this might be confusing. And then you swallow it, and it's pretty intricate. It goes down this tube through peristalsis. The contractile react, it squeezes it down into your stomach, and then once it's in your stomach, the food is subjected to acids, which doesn't really dissolve it. It breaks the food down into small enough particles to where it can pass into your small intestine to where it can be absorbed. Now, I'm going to show you a handy little picture again. This is what I'm going to talk about. This is called villi. And basically what villi is, in your small intestine, there's these protrusions from the wall of your small intestine, and they're like finger-like structures. So to get an idea of how many there are, imagine a football field is one section of your small intestine. And shoulder to shoulder is tons of people standing in this football field, right? Now imagine this. All these people are completely covered in 6-inch hairs, completely covering their entire body, every single one of them. And that's microvilli. These things right here. They're actually the smaller versions of this, covering every single one of those. And what those are, they act like fingers or like a comb, and they pick up these small nutrient particles that are small enough to be digested into your bloodstream. Now, once these are picked up, they go directly into your bloodstream. And when that happens, your cell uses these nutrient particles to start cell division. And that's basically going to keep you growing and keep you developing and keep your cells alive. And it's the main food source for your cells. So now the main idea to take from this is that these structures are what is responsible for absorption of minerals, nutrients. So now that I've talked about gluten and I've talked about the digestive system, because these are both two important things that are going to go together, I want to change gears one more time and talk about someone who has a gluten allergy. Now, when someone has a gluten allergy, it's really impossible for them to digest this elastic compound. People like you and me who do not have this allergy basically digest it as a protein. But these other people, what happens is it enters in as a small particle into your small intestine, and basically your body doesn't recognize that it's a food source. Your body thinks that it's dangerous, it's potentially harmful, because it doesn't know what it is. It's an unidentified possible pathogen. So what it does is it sends in these things, antibodies. And basically what those are meant for is for killing viruses and preventing potential threats of disease to your body. But when you're constantly consuming gluten and you don't realize that you have an allergy to it, you're putting these strong and harmful antibodies into your system constantly. And your villi, those things I was talking about earlier, when they're exposed to these antibodies for extended periods of time, it destroys them and it breaks them down and it wears down the lining of your small intestine. So this is a problem because you can no longer absorb as many nutrients as you could having completely healthy small intestine. So no nutrients. Imagine if you went to class and you hadn't eaten in 3 days. Imagine how healthy you'd be feeling. So you may be wondering, what are the symptoms? Well, it's a variety. Anything from depression to anxiety. Let's look at one part of the list. Here's the other part. These are all the things, all the symptoms of having this celiac disease. And you can just see none of them look very awesome. So now that you can see the amount, there's all kinds of fun stuff going on right there. So now that you understand what gluten is, where in the lower intestine, your small intestine, food is being absorbed, and what exactly gluten does to that part of your body, I'm gonna tell you about what you can do. So, I talked about all these things. Next time you're at a cocktail party, or you're walking into the coffee shop, or you go to Super One, and you're with a friend and you're trying to impress them, and they say, "What's the deal with gluten? Why is there so much gluten-free stuff? Why would I want to eat that?" And you could just be like, bam, and just hit them with some serious knowledge, because knowledge is power.
Nice job there. Any questions?
Nothing? Okay.
Okay, let's see, Dan, I'll turn you note cards here.